Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball field.
One of the most comfortable, reduces concussion, increases performance. You can't get a mouthpiece like that on the market.
Not only is it a great product, it's super easy to use. I recommend it for any player at any age at any level. Thank you guys so much, and go check out NeuroGuard Plus.
NeuroGuard mouthpiece makes it easier to breathe while playing basketball. The unique design is not as bulky as any other mouthpiece and makes you feel safe in concussions.
NeuroGuard really control my breathing while I'm riding. It stops me getting concussions while I ride. It's very easy to use, so go pick one up today.
You know, I'm still doing stunts. And the concussions I've got, I feel much safer with that. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing a whole lot better in the gym. So NeuroGuard Plus, once this one wears out, you've got a customer for life, because I'm telling you people, NeuroGuard Plus is the way to go, and me, Mark Ash, says so.
Parents, kids, coaches, NeuroGuard. It's the future. Stay tuned.
Well, we've got one off-season show down. It's now for the second one, and it's time to go. Hello, everybody. It's Harry Bennett, Grant Goodwin here, Sideline to Sideline. The 18th year, as we're going to be talking 4A, 3A, and 2A football each and every week, brought to you by NeuroGuard Plus, also Big Country Blitz. And Grant, how you doing, bro?
Doing well, man. Doing well. How are you?
Doing good. It always takes me a couple of these shows to kind of slide back into that groove. This is actually why we started doing these off-season shows. It kind of helps us mentally get prepared, because we're having to do research. And, you and I always joke about we're basically researching the exact same thing each and every week, but I also think it helps us kind of get our broadcast legs going as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of, on note, if you're listening to this one, then that means this is the first week of August. We have the Toughest District show that will come out. And then on August 9th, we're recording the Big R's preview shows. Now, they won't come out August 9th. They'll start coming out slowly up until the first week of the season. But if you've never listened to those, what we do on those is we break down every district. We pick every district. We pick every playoff team. We pick our region finals, our state semifinals, and our state championship picks. Now, we don't try to predict the brackets and like who's going to play first and third. It's just more of a general idea, but you'll be looking forward to that. And also, I always have to remind people, week one, we will not have a full show. We usually just let that first week go. And hopefully, crossing our fingers, we're doing what we have been doing over the last 4 to 6 years, and that's having a Thursday night game and a Friday night game to go to.
Yeah, I think Friday, we might have nailed down already in Kilgore, Carthage versus Kilgore, a rematch from the Friday night game week one last year. So that'll be a doozy this year.
I'm buying new Hey Dudes.
Are you?
Just in case.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You ate it, didn't you, in the rain?
I've still got a scar on that one. It amazes me how long that's taken to go. But, dude, that's where you want to be. And, that means we might have to go somewhere.
So maybe if we can find a Thursday.
We can end up doing what we did last year. Yeah. Just saying.
Maybe.
A little trip over to Shreveport for historical reasons.
Right.
I like to go and show you Centenary, where I once went and everything. But yeah, so just a reminder of all that. But what we're going to be doing here tonight as we record this, again, no video until the Big R's preview shows, and that's just simply
because my hair.
No, your hair's looking absolutely wonderful, man.
Does it?
You have the hair of a 73-year-old dude. I'm so proud of you. But no, we're kind of redoing the studios, and you've seen the beginning of it. It's going to look really cool. We're kind of decluttering like the table. I will say, as I said in the Dark Horse show, the table will show back up though once Playoff Tree. It's that time. Playoff Tree's not going anywhere. In fact, I've got him tied down in the closet with Coach X, and we're trying to work out their differences. So it's we want a kinder, gentler playoffs after the turmoil.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that as well. We won't hear from Coach X on tonight or the Toughest District, but that's just simply because what he wrote actually fits the Big R's preview show, because we do have a funny thing about the new studio setup. I'll show that here on the picture, but I won't say anything just to see if anybody can catch it. But anyway, tonight, It's one of our oldest off-season shows. One of my favorites that we do. Again, this partly because I think it helps us kind of start getting into the football knowledge, but also it's just kind of fun to see where we are right or wrong at the end of the year. But that's going to be doing the toughest regions, and we're going to do the toughest regions for each division. We rank the regions basically from the 4th to the 1st. And I will say this. And this is all one show, too, by the way, 2A through 4A. And we'll start at 2A. But I will say this. I legitimately feel like this is one of those years that we haven't had in a long time where it feels like every division is in play this year by a multitude of teams. There's just not this, oh, it's that team, and if they lose, we're going to be completely shocked.
Yeah, 2A is very spread out
Yes.
this year, right? And especially 2A Division 2, by the way.
Let's
2A
go ahead and start
2,
there.
You want to go Division 2 first?
Yeah,
and
let's
then
go.
Division 1?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right, let's start it out then. Let's see here. The 4th toughest region in Class 2A Division 2, Texas high school football, is awarded to Region 4. You got a heavy hitter in Shiner. And then after that, your big ones are, I guess, Shiner's district mate, Fall City, and then Junction. Outside of those, I don't know, there's some Grangers, Burtons, but they're not quite what they have been over the last 5 years. So, really, there's only three kind of threats in this region, I think, and that would be Shiner, obviously, the team to beat, and then Fall City and Junction.
Yeah,
After that, it kind of just falls off a little bit.
Well, and again, this is where we talk about it. In saying all that, we could have ranked them as number 3 because they have maybe the same amount of depth, but I feel that the depth in region that we're about to talk about is just a little bit deeper. And I'll go ahead and say that the 3rd region, Region 3. It's kind of perfect how that works out. And again, you've got Bremont, you've got Mart, but we don't know what Mart is now.
Right.
We're getting into Mart 2.0 now with the coaching change. And just also they have, and it's really weird to say that over the last 3 years, I don't want to say they underperformed, but where everybody had them and where they finished was a little bit higher than where they kept going.
They don't seem unbeatable, right?
Yes, there you go. Thank you. That's what I was trying to figure out.
I think they still, the Panthers probably still put the fear of God in a lot of teams in the region. And I understand that. But, there was a time when Mart just felt like, oh, man, they're just, I get them in the first round. Darn, what bad luck. Still don't want them in the first round, but they don't seem unbeatable now. I think, Bremont is going to probably, run that district, and that's probably one of the toughest teams in Region 3, and then the aforesaid Mart, and then Lovelady, who Lovelady strengthens this region.
Yeah, the Lions.
They should be very, very good. They were very solid last year. They got a district mate in Grapeland who's going to be pretty good.
And let's not forget Overton. Overton, I know, lost a little bit of that group that went so far last year, but they still return a good chunk. I almost had them on the dark horse when we were doing dark horses last week. The one thing about this, just kind of looking forward, talking about toughest districts, it is crazy how far District 10 fell last year, because when we, when realignment came out and we did the show, this was the toughest district of the season, or of the classification. We even called it one of the toughest districts of all the classes. And in the season in of itself, everybody kind of took a step back, except for Bremont and Mart, even though they got upset. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. All right, the number 2 region in the toughest regions in Class 2A Division 2, that is Region 1. And that's because, in my opinion, it's not necessarily the very top, it's the depth of the middle with Ropes and Wink.
Right, yeah. Obviously, top hit, the top is Groover, and then Ropes and Wink, and then down there you got Stratford, who I think is going to be a lot better than
you had them as a dark horse.
What a lot of people think they are. This year. So that's going to be a heck of a district battle, Groover and Stratford. But pretty strong district. That's why Region 1 comes in at number 2, and obviously that leaves Region 2 as our toughest region in Class 2A Division 2. You got Albany and Munster. Either of those are capable of rattling off a state final.
Oh, yeah.
And then Collinsville and Windthorst. Windthorst, it's just been getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Collinsville with that defense this year, right?
And then, again, we had them as a dark horse, a team like Lindsay that has a lot coming back. They've kind of retooled their offense. They got a quarterback move in. They've got an offensive coordinator that's wanting to open things up. We think they're going to be a challenge. And even in what you would call the weak district, you still got like a Wellington who knows how to win.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't a team that's that far off from being a state champion, state contending team. But yeah, the depth of this district, I mean, of this region is 7 and 8 with 6 being there as well.
Yep.
You know, that's the one thing about this division when you look at it. Every region has what I would call an off district. Now, that doesn't mean that district can't do well, but when you look at, you know, the favorites of that region, you know, with Region 1, it's District 2. With Region 2, it's District 5. With Region 3, it's District 9. And then with Region 4, they actually have 2 of them. That's why they're the what we consider the least toughest. That's District 13 and District 16.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move our attentions to Class 2A Division 1. I ain't gonna lie, I spent the first 3 minutes as you were talking looking at 2A Division 1 going, wait, who's he talking about? All right, now we move our attention to Class 2A Division 1, and we're gonna start off again with the least toughest, and that for me is Region 2. Now, Region 2 has some solid depth, but there's not a, oh my God, this team might not get beaten, go 17-0 and whatever and stuff.
I think Region 2 is a very strong region. This is how good 2A Division 1 is statewide this year. Region 2 is chock full of very solid dark horses with Wolf City, Hamilton, DeLeon, Axtell. Those to me are all dark horses that could easily make a semifinal.
Well,
right?
You had De Leon and Wolf City as dark horses in the dark horse show. Then you've got
maybe not easily make a state final, or state semifinals. Oh man, I got hiccups. But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for them to make it to the semis.
Exactly. And then you still got a team like Coleman, who's always going to have athleticism. They just lost that consistency lately. But that's why
District 5, man. Like those teams, Ballinger, Bangs, Coleman, and Hamilton, DeLeon, have all had some solid years the last 10 years. If they could kind of all put it together at the same time, that would definitely be the toughest district in the state in 2A Division 1.
And I do want to point out, and I should have put them as one of my honorable mention dark horses. And I think we might have brought him up, but with Clay Baker going back to Price Carlisle, if he could turn them around to where he had them a couple years ago, they could go from being people have kind of forgot about them to being a region threat in a region that we don't feel as a top heavy region. All right, so Region 2 is our 4th toughest region. Region 1 is our 3rd toughest in Class 2A Division 1, and why is that?
Stanford, for one. And then you got Post and Panhandle. Giving it some depth, right? But after that, the depth kind of falls off. I think you got 3 really solid teams in this region, and then after that, it's just kind of it's just not quite.
Sunrays, we like Sunray's young quarterback, but he's replacing a legend.
Right.
They're also replacing like 6 or 7 starters, but they're a team that if they can flip that quickly, they could be there. And with Post, and this is not a knock, but they shocked everybody last year.
Yeah.
Post was not supposed to, in fact, upset Sunray in the 3rd round of the playoffs. They weren't supposed to go 13-1. And I'm not saying they can't do it again, but now they have the target on the back where you can make the case that it's them and Stanford as the region favorites. And let's also not forget Abernathy.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the Antelopes and the physicality that they can play with. They just haven't been consistent. But again, that's why this is the 3rd toughest region. There's so many questions past Stanford, in my opinion.
Yeah, and look out for Panhandle, man. That quarterback, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but man, that kid can ball.
And look out for Spearman this year. That we thought they were going to fall down last year and be a little bit better, and they struggled, but they kind of found their groove, and they returned like 9 starters. I meant to actually add them on the honorable mention last year. That's the one thing about doing the dark horse first is when you get deeper into the districts with the regions and stuff, you start, well, oh, crap, I should have put them down as well.
Oh, yeah.
But then we would have like 30 dark horses if we did it that
and
way.
we'd still be here.
We'd still be recording last week's show. All right, what's the 2nd toughest district in Class 2A Division 1?
In my opinion, that would be Region 3. You got Wascom and Garrison, the big heavy hitters in this one, and then a close second to that would be Honeygrove and Joaquin. right?
Yeah, Honey Grove, if they can stay healthy, they're not going anywhere.
Don't forget about Cooper. And then
Cooper's young and they're physical. I mean, Cooper's always physical, but they're young and they're feeling really good about themselves this year.
Yeah, and then Pewitt ought to be better this year, I think.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. And dare we say we even joked about it, not joked, but we tipped our hat to Matt Stepp and them for saying, hey, Timpson now, I would call them a dark horse this year because they're young, and it's not like their talent went anywhere. They just had graduated so many players and then had a couple players who ended up not being able to play but for other reasons last year. But I think they're back.
Yeah. All right, so that leaves Region 4 as the toughest district in Class 2A Division 1, and that is mainly because of Ganado and Refugio. Then you got Marlin in there. Marlin is just maybe a tick under Ganado and Refugio. And then don't forget about Mason, man. Mason, always tough, should be again this year.
Well, and I had Weimer last week as one of my dark horses. I think they're a team that could easily see Ganado in the playoffs again. I don't think they could beat Ganado in the regular season. And as of right now, spoiler, I don't think a lot of people are going to beat Ganado. It's going to be them and Refugio, in my opinion. But anyway, other than that, though, this is one of those regions. And it's the only region so far all through 2A that every district has at least one team that is ranked somewhere in the top 25.
Yeah.
And that's why this becomes the toughest district. It's not always just the amount of teams, it's if they're spread out, because if every tough team is in one district, it does strengthen the region, but it also hurts the region because you realize, three of those teams are going to that's going to be the three teams playing for the region title at the end of the day.
Yep.
All right, that's Class 2A in the books. All right, let's turn our attentions now to Class 3A. We'll start at the same division, Division 2. I'll start off. The fourth toughest region in Class 3A Division 2 this year is going to be Region 1, and that's just simply because there's so many teams that have so many questions this year outside of Wall. And Canadians almost back to being Canadian, but even they still have some questions.
Yeah. We'll know a little bit more about Canadian after about the first 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I think your two main ones here are Wall and Canadian. After that, I just, Idalou maybe, but they're going to take a step back, right? So, it's just not very deep in Region 1.
Yeah, and again, that's what matters to us when we're ranking these and putting these in the toughest to our weakest to toughest region. Again, we say weakest, we just mean in relative to the other regions, because I still think Region 1 is going to be a heck of a battle. I mean, when you look at other teams, if Idalou can rediscover their physicality, Roosevelt's supposed to have a lot coming back. Muleshoe kind of has been treading water for a couple years after they had a couple 11-win seasons. So anyway, that's why they're the fourth toughest. All right, our third toughest, and this was really hard. To me, this was one of the harder 1 through 3s because you could make a case for every one of these being in each one of those. But
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Our third toughest is Region 2, and that's weird saying that with Gunter there and Holiday there and Jacksboro there. But honestly, Gunter, I don't think is going to be what Gunter, everybody, is used to Gunter being. I still think they're going to be really, really good.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, they might be just as deadly as they were, right?
I mean, a lot of people thought last year they were going to take that step back. That's a good point.
They were phenomenal last year, obviously. I mean, state champions. So, Gunter might be just as good as they were last year. We just don't know. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to see them in their first scrimmage at least. To get an eye on them. But then after Gunter, you got Holiday, who should be very good. Now a year with that offense under their belt, right?
Yeah, year 3 of the offense. They're getting more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that's now been run by the 8th grades and the 9th grades, to where they're not having to ask all the questions.
And then you got Jacksboro in the same district. They should be good. In District 6 with Holiday. And then Cityview, right? Cityview.
Oh, we had them as a dark horse.
One of our dark horses. That makes up for a tough district, District 6. And I think Cityview and Jacksboro are the ones that could have pushed them higher, the Region 2 higher than number 3. But again, it's just, some unanswered questions here in that region. I think that's going to end up being a very good region, and maybe we re-rank these at the end of the year, and they might be one. You just
Well, and
don't know.
especially you talk about, City View. If Bells and Blue Ridge are teams like we think they're going to be, we had both of them as dark horses. My issue with Region 2 is just simply District 5 and District 8. We don't know anything about them, but the things we do know, they're not big. Eastland is nowhere near where they used to be. Early and Clifton, I mean, all of them could be solid. Toller might be back. We don't know. Year 2. They did a lot better, I think, than people thought they would coming up and losing Coach Mullins last year, but we'll have to see what they're going to do. But again, this isn't necessarily a knock on Region 2. It's just that we think Region 3 is one step better, as they are the second toughest region in Class 3A Division 2. And that's simply because you've got 2 powerhouses in District 10, 2 possible powerhouses in District 12, and then you got Troop and New Diana in District 11, who are 2 teams that we think could be really, really good this year as well.
Yeah, man. Look, Troop, I am very big on Troop this year. I was so impressed with them last year, and I think they're going to be better.
Yes.
I mean, their running game was just.
Wells Kid is great, and we thought they were going to take a step back last year.
Right.
Remember, they had the big.
And record-wise, if you just looked at their record and didn't see them play, you wouldn't think anything about it. But yeah, I mean, they were a lot better than what I thought they were going to be, and should be as good, at least as good this year.
And I feel like we've been doing this show for 18 years now, and we've said this probably 18 of the 18 years. Whichever Dangerfield decides to show up decides what happens in this region.
Yeah, that's right. And they got that District 10 with Dangerfield, DeKalb, Hooks should be pretty good. I believe. They're not what they were 2 or 3 years ago, but still should be pretty solid. Then look out for New Boston, man. They're starting to kind of inch their way back up into a little bit of notoriety, right?
Hey, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that we'd start talking about DeKalb on a regular basis, I'd have called you crazy. So throwing New Boston in there, it doesn't, wouldn't be surprised either. I wanted to go back to Hooks because I agree with you on that. And this was one of those teams that I was going to put on the dark horse. And then when you looked at what was on there, where they're ranked and stuff, they're not a dark horse team. But, I mean, this is a team that returns 13 people back, or 13 starters back from last year's team. They started slow. They ended up getting into the playoffs. And they're one of those teams that if you sleep on them, we're going to wake up in a region championship weekend and they could easily be there.
Yeah. And then you got District 12 with obviously Newton and, last year's surprise team Woodville, right? Woodville should be pretty darn good again this year. Are they going to make a state final again 2 years in a row? I don't know about that, but they're still really strengthened this region.
Yeah, I mean, last year they ended up going 13-3, their first state championship in history. The problem is they only return 8, but the 8 that they return, including Dustin Barlow and Katie McDaniel, are beasts. I think they might take a step back, a little pause, but that doesn't mean it'll be for the whole season. I definitely think they could be in there. And I tell you what, man, Newton Woodville might be a game we have to be at this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that leaves us with the toughest region in Class 3A Division 2 for the 2025 season, and that, of course, is Region 4. And that's because outside of one district, 3 of the 4 districts have at least one top 15 team, and 2 of these districts are going to be in the running for toughest districts next week when we record that.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited about Lexington and Tidehaven this year, especially Lexington. They were better than what their playoff run was. I truly believe. And then Blanco in there with them. Tidehaven in a really good district with East Bernard and Van Vleck. And then Poth, let's not forget about Poth, how good they've been.
Yeah, you talk about Lexington. I mean, you and I were big on Lexington. You went and saw them, and you legitimately came in, and they lost that game too, didn't they?
They won that game.
That was the next week they lost.
Yeah,
and they lost the game in the regular season, and we were like, okay, that's a little weird. But then we still felt like they were going to be a playoff threat, and then hey. maybe it's time to start realizing that Tidehaven wasn't that one-year wonder of 2 years ago when they made the state finals and lost to Gunner with that stud running back, because last year they were able to out physical a physical Lexington defense that had been good for most of the year. And that brings me to the attention of Tidehaven. And again, I think Tidehaven have built a legitimate Region 4 power, and I don't think they're going anywhere.
No, not at all.
All right, let's turn our attention now to Class 3A Division 1. As this one, what are your thoughts of this one overall?
Very tough, man. Statewide, every region here has some go-getters, man. They really do. I think Region 1's probably the least toughest, so at number 4, because you got Paradise. We know Paradise is going to bring it.
But to be fair, and I know it's just the Sun, but we're talking about a program that lost a ton from last year. Their head coach retired. I think they're going to be fine, and I think they're going to be really good, and I think they're worthy of the top 5 ranking. But I'm just saying, they do have a little bit of an unknown around them.
Yeah, and then you got Jim Ned and Shallowater rounding out the region. And then, you can throw in Peaster too, right? Peaster and Ponder both.
I had Ponder as a dark horse last week. They have a great quarterback. They have a great defense. Hey, Vernon started out strong last year, then they kind of faded, but they return a good chunk.
Yeah, again, Vernon ought to be real good this year.
This is definitely, when we're ranking this division, being the weakest region, it's just semantics. You could easily have them as the 3rd. We're talking the difference in maybe one team or a couple of teams. So I think even though Region 1 might be considered the weakest of this division, I still think this is going to be a slugfest getting out of this region.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, and the 3rd toughest region in Class 3A Division 1, I've got it as Region 4.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Again, kind of the same way. You've got a few good teams in it. What hurts Region 4 and maybe more than hurts Region even 1 is you've got 2 districts that, I know I have Crystal City as a dark horse, but as I said, that was more of to win their first district championship since the 50s. I don't know how much of an actual threat they'll be on the region. And then you got District 16, and District 16 just has a lot of we don't know, or they haven't been good in a long time.
Right. San Diego has been pretty solid, right? They weren't quite as good last year as what they had been
they're always physical, though.
Oh, yeah, always physical. But, yeah, the glaring favorite, I guess you'd say, in this region is a heavy hitter in Edna. And then you got Llano in there. I think Llano might be one of those teams by the time we start our rankings, our sideline to sideline rankings in week 4, week 5, Llano will likely be in our top 10, right? I mean, maybe even top 5.
I mean, this is a team in the Yellow Jackets that, last year was 7-6. I mean, 12-2. They're returning 7-6. And more importantly, Luke Davis is back. Conray's Wiki, his big tight end, is back. I mean, it feels like Llano has built that program now where I expect 11-12 wins. Yeah. I know 2 years ago they had a step back where they went 5-5, but that's because they lost one of the most special classes in the history of their program. And then they stepped that up last year by going even around further than that 12-1 team did 2 years ago. And I think I think Matt Green continues that. I'm like you. I think this is one of those that we're going to look back at the end of the year and go, man, you remember when Llano wasn't top 5?
Yeah, might need to look at Llano's schedule and pick a game and just go down there this year and see them. It's always fun to go to the Yellow Jacket games down there. They treat us really, really well. Yep. So yeah. Let's not forget to mention Goliad there in District 15, along with Edna as well. Goliad should be very good.
I mean, you said, Edna's the heavy hitter, and I agree with you, but I think they're going to have a dogfight just to get out of that district unbeaten.
Yeah, it could be.
When you look at what the Tigers are always going to be, they're always going to be physical. We always joke. I always feel like back whenever they've been in the same district or when them and San Diego have played outside of district, their scores are always 14-7 because those two teams just are always slugfest. And I don't think Goliad's going to be any different this year. They're returning most of their defense off of a 10-3 region semifinalist team that last year saw them get beat by Llano 30-29. That's right. That was one of those games we were following, and it was just back and forth the whole game. And I might be mistaken. I think Goliad missed an extra extra point or a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. If I'm wrong, of course, somebody will let me know. They always do. Anyway, so that's our third toughest region. We now move our attention to our second toughest region in Class 3A Division 1. And which one is that one?
That's going to be Region 2. You could make a strong case for Region 2 being the toughest region, but at the end of the day, Jefferson is your big heavy hitter, along with maybe like Liberty Ilo, Malakoff, Winsboro, right? Winsboro's going to be very good. And then Atlanta, if I was a little bit more sure about Atlanta, that might have pushed Region 2 into the number 1 spot, but I just don't know about Atlanta just yet.
Well, for me, the difference that keeps this being the toughest region is District 7 and District 8 are packed. District 5 has possibilities. We had 2 dark horses from that district last week, Grandview, Whitney. You still got West, who's always going to be physical, but they're kind of in a transition of what they do offensively. And then you got Groesbeck and Maypearl. Okay, there's some solid teams there, but then District 6, I mean,
Pilot Point
might, and I know Pottsboro's there, but Pottsboro, I think they've taken a step back this year. I think Whitesboro has a chance to be a dark horse. Don't get me wrong, though. I think Coach Fagan there is quietly rebuilding that not they had to rebuild it, but they're reloading. But I'm like you, I like Pilot Point. But District 7 and District 8 are where in my opinion, proven teams are. It's crazy to think that Liberty Ilo is now a proven team, but I think they are with Brad Willard there.
Yeah, one of the best athletes in 3A and the Prevost kid as well. All right, Region 3 being our toughest region in Class 3A Division 1, and that's obviously because your 2 tops are Franklin and Columbus, right?
Yeah, I mean...
Then Palestine Westwood, Hitchcock ought to be really good this year.
Little River Academy is still physical. They feel like they're going to be better this year. Yoakum, always athletic. Look at, Cold Spring last year started out hot and they kind of faded. East Chambers this is one of those that you know who the heavy hitters are. And I don't think this region is as tough as it has been, but it's still going to be a slobber knocker. And you're still, in my opinion, going to have it become Franklin, Columbus, or Hitchcock with somebody else thrown in.
I.e. Westwood.
The thing that hurts Westwood is that second round, they're going to have to pull the upset off that Columbus did a couple years ago when they pulled the upset off in the second round to the state champion team. Was it Franklin? No, they lost it. Who was it they beat the week before they lost to Franklin?
We went to that game.
We went to that game. Waco area. Lorena,
yeah.
That's what Palestine West was going to have to do. They're going to have to knock off a team in the second round where a team like Columbus, their second round,
they got the hosses to do it, right? Will they do it? I don't know.
Well, but, you and I was talking about that. The hardest one is that first big win against. I mean, you've got to prove it to yourself that you can do it before you can actually do it.
And hopefully it'll be this year with a lot less distractions. I think that mattered.
Oh, I think that mattered a lot last year.
Obviously their draw did not help them last year, right? They got Columbus in the first round. Good luck with that. But they got the athletes, obviously with the one of the best quarterbacks in the state. Less distractions. They could be dangerous.
Yep, I totally agree with that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to finish it up with the 4A's D1, D2, toughest region, right here on Sideline to Sideline.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball field.
One of the most comfortable, reduces concussion, increases performance. You can't get a mouthpiece like that on the market.
Not only is it a great product, it's super easy to use. I recommend it for any player at any age, at any level. Thank you guys so much, and go check out NeuroGuard Plus.
NeuroGuard mouthpiece makes it easier to breathe while playing basketball. The unique design is not as bulky as any other mouthpiece and makes you feel safe in concussions.
NeuroGuard. They control my breathing while I'm riding. It stops me getting concussions while I wreck. It's very easy to use, so go pick one up today.
I'm still doing stunts in the concussions I've got, and I feel much safer with that. I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing a whole lot better in the gym. The NeuroGuard Plus, once this one wears out, you've got a customer for life, because I'm telling you people, NeuroGuard Plus is the way to go, and me, Mark Ash, says so.
Parents, kids, coaches, NeuroGuard. It's the future. Stay tuned.
All right, Terry Bennett, Grant Goodwin back, sideline to sideline. This section brought to you by Big Country Blitz. Check out bigcountryblitz.com for all your Big Country football news, as they cover all of Big Country High School and Abilene Christian, Hardin-Simmons, Howard Payne, McMurray, and Cisco College. 54 high school teams, and we're proud to say that we're going to have a Big Country region football show this year, brought to you by Big Country Blitz. We do appreciate them. We have our, if you're out there, make sure you get the magazine. We have an ad in there again this year. We love advertising out there, and I feel like that's how we got some of our new fan base down in 2A that we got last year, was because of Big Country Blitz, and we do appreciate that. All right, so now we're going to finish up with Class 4A. So again, before we start, we're going to start with Class 4A Division 2. Before we start, what are your overall thoughts on this region, or division, I mean?
Man, fun as always. 4A Division 2 and Division 1 are just going to be, they're going to be super fun. Last year was fun. This year, I'm really looking forward to it this go around.
And no, I'm not stupid. I know Carthage is there, and I know Carthage is loaded, and Carthage, probably the prohibitive favorite. But I feel like I feel like this situation where in 4A Division 2 teams aren't. I mean, Carthage isn't sliding back to teams. I think teams are getting better and better each year and getting closer to Carthage. But we'll talk about them in a little bit. Let's go to our least toughest region. I always try to say that instead of weakest, because that comes as a knock. Least toughest region, Class 4A Division 2 in 2025. I've got Region 4, and it's just simply because even the teams that we expect to be good and expect to be there when it comes to the region semifinals and the region championship, I think all of them are still going to be a step down from where they have been.
Yeah, you speak of Wimberley and Cuero, right?
And Sinton and Lago Vista, and Navarro. Now, Navarro, of course, and I know Wimberley has a coaching change too, but Wimberley has proven they can transition from one coach to another. Navarro not losing Coach Blunt, moving on. We have to see what they're going to do. But every team, and Cuero, I feel like Cuero's on the cusp, but it just feels like every time they're about to take that next step, something happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know they met in the state championship in 2015, but then you look at Gonzales and Salado and Smithfield. I mean, all those teams there can be's, but there's a lot of what ifs as well.
Right.
And that's why they are our least toughest. Our third toughest region this year, and this is where it gets tough. I will admit there's some good competition over the next three regions, but Region 1 is our third toughest, mainly because District 2, there's just not a lot of what we can trust there, but you've got teams like, of course, Brock. And look, I said this in the Dark Horse show. I know we've done a Brock coaches show, and we get Brock. I think Brock is rated way too high in Dave Campbell's this year. That doesn't mean I don't think they're going to be there.
What did Dave Campbell say?
Fourth. Yeah, they had him over Belleville and teams like that. And I get the pedigree, I totally do. But
and they might be.
Oh, I think by the end of the year they very well could be. But we're talking at the beginning of the year.
Sure, yeah.
I don't think Brock is a top 5 team. I legitimately think Graham, and I know Graham lost a lot too, but I think Graham has a little bit better depth. I think Brock and Graham are 1A and 1B.
Yeah. Then you got Midland Greenwood should be.
Yeah, they're the, and I didn't want to have them as a dark horse because they're in the top 15, but they're the team in this region, in my opinion. Everybody's looking at Brock and Graham and Glenrose. Yeah, watch out for Greenwood, because if they get their path right, they're not going to have to hit any of the big boys until the third round.
Yeah. Seminole should be pretty good again this year.
Yeah,
right?
we had them as a dark. Or we had Seminole as a dark horse.
Yeah.
Monahans is kind of 2 years ago they got 11 wins, and then last year I think they had 7 wins. They've kind of not progressed as fast as I thought they would after having that surprise year, but they still have a lot of talent.
Yeah, then throw Glenrose in there. Glenrose takes a step back from where they were the last couple of years. New quarterback, right?
Yeah, new quarterback.
But I still expect them to be somewhat salty this year. But really outside of Graham and Brock and maybe Greenwood, it's just there's a lot of questions, right? And that's why Region 1 is the third toughest district in our opinion.
And I do want to say this: I don't think Benbrook's going anywhere. Last year they went 11-2. Their quarterback Brennan Barton is back, and they have a huge wide receiver in Deshaun Dean, who is an absolute, just amazing athlete. I really should have had them on the dark horse. I kind of didn't forget about them, but I started thinking about them today when I was looking at all the region stuff, and I kind of went to YouTube and was looking up some highlights. And man, even the guys they have coming back are just big. Benbrook's just a big,
they had a big offensive line last year.
Yes,
didn't they?
And they do need to replace some of that, but they feel that they've got some guys that are coming up that are going to be just as good. It might take them a few games early in the season to kind of start to gel, but that's what you expect with that. All right, so that is our third toughest district or region. Our second toughest region is
Region 2, and your big ones are obviously Carthage, Gilmer, Pleasant Grove, Sunnyvale, right?
Yep.
Outside of that, I think you had Sanger as a dark horse.
Yes, I do.
Right?
I'm very high on Sanger this year.
Yeah, so outside of our dark horses like Sanger and Center, I think that was another one of our dark horses. It's just there's not as much as Region 3, who's our toughest, right? But, Carthage, Pleasant Grove, Gilmer, Sunnyvale, they should all be in the mix. Obviously, Carthage is a glaring favorite.
We had Center as a dark horse. Let's see how they, new coach and all. I think I know for some of the fans that they don't like that the Division II District of Doom has been split up. As a fan, I do like the fact that they kind of pulled Carthage away from the Gilmers and the Pleasant Groves in that district. And I know it makes for a heck of a district.
Sucks for Athens, Brownsboro, Bullard.
Whoever had to be in fourth and fifth.
They didn't choose that.
But you know what? We said it about Greenwood. I feel it about Sunnyvale. Watch out for Sunnyvale. They have gotten over that kind of that first and second round hump, and they're starting to build that winning tradition. And they're starting to get big population wise.
Right.
They're kind of landlocked, but they've started kind of fitting in a couple of new housing developments. We had to do a detour the other day because of a wreck on 20, and we were kind of going through there. And I hadn't been in that area in a while, and man, it is exploding out there. All right, so that of course means our toughest 4A Division II region in 2025 is
Region 3.
Dude, this region is absolutely
It's going to be a
stacked.
bloodbath, right? Sealy, La Vega, West Orange Stark, Belleville, Silsby. It's going to be a tough one.
And don't forget the teams. Jasper. And don't forget the teams like Katy Harmony, which is basically Katy, and they're yet a 4A Division II school. I mean, they've got numbers to pull full. And I'm going to say I think that's open enrollment over there. Now, in saying all that, some of the top teams we do have questions about, like Silsby. This is the biggest rebuild they've had in quite some time. I think they're going to be fine, but we still have to see what they're going to do with that. Belleville lost some depth, lost some key players, but it's Belleville. I at least expect Belleville to be a 12-win team.
Grady Rowe just knows how to get more out of his guys.
Yep.
And a lot of people do.
And then you have the two questions, the China Springs and the Lorenas. Where are they?
How about Conley?
Yeah, exactly. Conley's always good for 3 Division I athletes and an 11-1 lose a game they aren't not supposed to type of year. But that's exactly why we have Class 4A Division II Region 3 is the toughest, because I mean, I'll be honest, even though the teams that we have as the best, it wouldn't shock me if none of them actually win district. They'll all make the playoffs, but you see my point. I mean, there is no prohibitive favorite in Region 3, in my opinion, this year. And that's why we like them as the toughest region, because they're the hardest one to predict. All right, let's finish things up with a division that the last few years have been kind of, I don't know, it just, I mean, I still love talking it and all, but it felt like it was just kind of, well, these two regions and that's it. I don't feel that way this year. I think 4A Division I is going to be fun all through the regions.
Yeah, me too.
It feels like this is the most spread out Division I's been in a while.
Yeah, and your semifinals are going to be just humdingers. Again, they were last year. I know, Kilgore and Lavernia ended up not being, it was maybe a little bit closer because of the weather.
Yeah.
Down there, I believe me and Jimmy were at that game. God, it was terrible weather. But Region 1 versus Region 2, that semifinal, gosh almighty, man, those tickets could go for $800.
Oh, yeah. And also, let's remember, this is not a knock on them, but Lavernia upset Davenport, and that we were all looking for Kilgore versus Davenport.
Yeah.
For last year, I mean.
Right. And I thought I think a lot of people were at least by mid-season, right?
Yes,
All right, let's start out our tier on 4A Division 1, and I've got the fourth toughest region as Region 3. You got Kilgore and Chapel Hill. And then it kind of just really kind of drops off after that.
You have a lot of what ifs. You have, how does Ricky
Lindale? Could be tough.
Yeah, Lindale's going to be really, really tough. I think their team that we have as dark horses that you can make the case should be in the top 15, but they do have a couple key questions. But you have things like, okay, how does Ricky Joe Meeks integrates into Henderson? I think he's going to be great long term, but we don't know what he'll do year one.
Right.
You just never know. And then you've got
how about a Needville team down there in District 12, right? That's a what if.
They've started being better defensively. A few years ago when they had the stud running back and we went and saw him. And then
or how about that? Gosh, that playoff game in Bryan, Needville and
Lindale.
And Lindale. If you like defense, you should have stayed home. But, man, offensively, that was one heck of a game.
And it was so funny because I wasn't at that game. I was doing studio stuff, and he texted me, and he goes, I know everybody else is going to love this, but I hate this right now. It's just score after score after score.
I'm like, man, I'm not going to get home till 3 a.m.
I will say
because that was down in Bryan.
Yes, it was, and it was cold and windy. And I remember, I think both teams had kickoff returns for touchdowns. I mean, it was just big play. Like you said, if you like that, it was probably a blast.
Right.
But you and I, we like high scoring games. We like a little bit of defense in it. And I want to say this, and I almost had them as a dark horse. Look out for Stafford last year.
Yeah,
everybody thought last year they were going to be a down year. That they were young. They won a playoff game. I think that, of course, it helps who they play in by district. That's you got to be fair on saying that, but I think that they're going to be good. Crawford. Crawford started slow last year, but they started gaining speed, and they're a team that, honestly, they're probably already got 5A numbers right now.
Yeah.
You've got Willeridge, who we thought, and I love I still wish they'd call him Sugarland.
I know, but that would put the fear of God in 40-year-old pluses, though, right?
What, Sugarland?
Oh, my God, we're in with Willeridge?
That's a good point. I'll say this: if we ever do a show that covers all classes, greatest program to not win state, it would be Willeridge. Man, those '80s teams with Thurman Thomas and those groups were just absolutely amazing. And
how they didn't win state? That's just
hey, Arlington Lamar in that era, Eddie Peach.
Yeah.
Every year they would get tripped up by Odessa Permian or someone like that.
Right.
But anyway, going to District 10 in this region, I think this is going to be a fun region. But there are so many question marks on every one of these to where the district favorite we have was probably Huffman Hargrave, who we have as a dark horse at best.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a toss-up district, which, by the way, underrated district for inside district play. This district, man, they all hate each other, and they all beat the crap out of each other.
And you've got some athletic teams in there, like Little Cypress, Mauriceville. LCM's always athletic.
Yep.
Right? Lumberton had one of the best passing games 2 or 3 years
and
ago.
And he left.
Right?
Coach left.
Yeah. Viter has been on the ups.
Yes.
So, yeah, you're right.
Hey, is this new? As you can see on the screen, we're using the UIL just to kind of for our notes. Has LCM always been called Orange LCM? I feel like that's a new thing.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I don't ever recall the
it's
orange
always
in front of them.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Matt.
They're sister city, right on the. They're on the border of Orange, but I've seen
that's a weird thing. Is that gonna be like a Gilmer Union Grove? Tyler Union Grove, God. Big Sandy Union Grove. Union Grove is just shared with everybody. All right, so let's go to our third toughest region. And again, the difference in this division with these regions are one or two teams, but we're going to go with Region 1 as the third toughest. I know that sounds crazy because I think we have two of the state favorites outside of Carthage in West Plains and Stephenville. Mm-hmm. But the problem with everybody else has questions. Lampasas, they're going to be good, but they're way down from where they were last year and 2 years ago. Brownwood's kind of going through a weird little upheaval now that we're
Marble
not.
Falls has yet yet to turn the corner since moving down in 4A.
It feels
right?
like they've been turning the corner for 10 years, to be fair. And then even in District 2, you got West Plains and you got Randall. But you and I both feel that Canyon takes a step back. Now, I do think Dumas with their quarterback is a dark horse. That's why I had him on the show had them on the show last year as a dark horse. But at the end of the day, this district or this region is very top heavy, but there's just not a lot of depth that we know of going into the season.
I want to go see that West Plains Randall.
I have heard
game.
the Canyon. Those
I've been. Well, I'm assuming they're playing at
Canyon, the bank stadium,
Kimbrough.
Oh, Kimbrough, is that the name of it?
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it was, okay.
Which is a great place to play.
Yes.
Just don't be on the sideline and need to go to the bathroom or the.
You can't get up.
Well, it's just deep.
Oh man, you and I.
I mean, like we're too old to be going that far up.
Martin Lufkin steep or
Coke or
Greenville.
nachos or go to the bathroom. We'll just have to wear a diaper. But yeah, I want to go. I want to go to that West Plains Randall game. So let's pencil that in. We'll find
because
out
those,
when.
that's a new.
Maybe we can go camping at the canyon.
You always want to go camping with me.
I know. I have a one-man tent too, so it's perfect.
And you always say these chloroform will help me sleep. It's really weird. But yeah, I've heard that's a rivalry that just
nobody uses that anymore, dude.
Oh wait,
you can't even order it online
that's right.
anymore.
You teach a class in that.
Yeah.
At coach's school, you teach a class in that. All right, let's go to our second toughest region in 4A.
Did we mention Stephenville?
Oh yeah,
I guess
Stephenville. Let's talk about Stephenville.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. No, Stephenville has everybody always and will always think of Stephenville in the passing game, Art Browse, the offense. But Stephenville's resurgence over the last 8 years, I mean, the passing game and the running games are great, but it's been that defense.
Yeah.
It's been that physicality. It's been linebackers that can cover.
Ding, physicality.
Yeah,
Size and physicality, man. That's what Stephenville is. That's what they're known for, right?
And honestly, it might take a team like a West Plains who doesn't have a lot of history, who's kind of goes in and goes, we don't know who you are. We don't care. Boom. Because I think Stephenville is one of those programs, man, when they walk out, if you know them, you have a little bit of fear of God of you because that's Stephenville. And we even saw it in the rivalry game where Stephenville loses their 2 starting quarterbacks and are basically playing Wildcat the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And Brownwood just couldn't answer because it was Stephenville. And that's what I love about that kind of program. But anyway, now let's go to our second toughest region in 4A Division I, and that is
Region 4.
I love this region, dude.
Yeah, Liburnia, obviously your big hitter there. And then you got Davenport and LBJ, right?
And you and I both feel like LBJ might be being a little underrated to start the year. Again, their whole big thing is you just don't know what you're going to have after they lose guys. And also in the season, can they stay healthy?
After we saw them last year against Wimberley there in Austin, boy, we left that game thinking, man, who's going to be able to beat LBJ with that speed, and then kind of just fizzled out, right?
Well, they were unbeaten. What happened to them? And we have to give. This is one of those things we've been talking about. We want to do a little bit more historical stuff, especially in the years that we've covered the sport. We had started out before. We did a couple of like the best 3A team since 1980, the greatest lineups. There needs to be a story told on the 2024 Livonia Bears and what they pulled off. Because not only, did they go 11-4, they limped into the playoffs, and then they beat in back-to-back weeks LBJ, Calhoun, Bay City before losing to Kilgore. I mean, that is a hell of a run. And they were the not only underdog, the Bears were the 3-4 touchdown underdog in some of those games. And you said it best. They're back this year. I think that they might be the bell cow of Region 4.
Yeah, could be. Bay City. I still think Bay City's got a shot to be as good as they were last year. And LBJ, if I'm in Region 4, I'm scared of LBJ just because of that speed that they're gonna have.
And they're gonna give teams in that region problems because they are going to be the most athletic team. Yeah. Now, for me, the team that's the biggest, this could tip this region, and they're a stalwart for many years, but that's Cal Allen. Does Cal Allen go back to where Cal Allen was? Or is this the new era of where Cal Allen, where they're solid and they're good, but they're not consistently a region favorite?
Right. Yeah. And Davenport, I'm interested to see how good Davenport's going to be this year. I think they're going to be pretty darn good.
No, I agree. I think, in fact, Davenport could be one of those teams that everybody was expecting it 2 years ago, and then last year, and then this be the year they finally break through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's how that works when you have that team that comes out of nowhere and you think they're going to be the state champion, and it doesn't happen for a couple years. It's that third class who has grown up now. They started as 8th grade and freshmen winning and knowing nothing but winning, and now that's instilled in them.
Yeah.
All right, so that means our toughest region in Class 4A Division I for 2025 is...
Region 2.
Dude.
And most of it is, to me, District 7. You got Salina, Panther Creek, Sulphur Springs.
Dude, I feel
all
like
three of those should be really darn good. And then, Paris and Aubrey are always one of those that you better bring your A game when you play them.
Now, I was about to say, I feel like we could just take District 7 talk from last year and just import it into this year.
Right, yeah.
Because mainly almost all three of these teams have almost all coming back. Sulphur Springs does have to replace their quarterback, but hey, we saw them, and the quarterback, and that's not a knock on, but that was the weakest thing we saw when we saw them play Salina. Right. We saw them do some good things against Salina, but whenever they needed to pass the ball, Salina had their way with them.
Yeah.
I think Panther Creek's a team that's probably got 5A numbers. Heck, Salina might finally have 5A numbers at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Salina does.
And we got two dark horses with Springtown. Again, I'm a little...
Yeah, you had Springtown as a dark horse
I'm
last
a little
week.
shocked that Dave Campbell's didn't have them ranked at all. Or they might have been the bottom, like 24th or 25th.
Okay, yeah.
I have Kimball as a dark horse. Then you have teams like Kennedale. Is Kennedale turning the corner around, like where Alvarado was?
Man, Kennedale's... I don't know. I've lost faith in the Wildcats over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
This ain't anything about style as far as what style, because you and I, we actually like all styles, but I almost feel like they need an Alvarado, and it's funny saying that because that's their big rival. They need an Alvarado, just a complete change of what they do and just figure out what they're going to do, because, you said it best, the last few years, what was it? 4-6, 7-4, 8-4. Now 2021, they were 10-2, and they were 10-1. But we knew that they were going to get beat in the first or second round because
it was that district.
Yeah, they were in that Fort Worth district basically.
Yeah.
Now this year they do return 12 from a team that went 6-6. They did win 2 playoff games, but again, a lot of it last year was that region. And it's weird to say this because this district will get the same thing this year. Well, no, actually. Yeah, they will, basically, outside of whoever's the 4th place team. So that's why this region...
And speaking of that Fort Worth district, Decatur is now in that District 5, that Fort Worth district. And look out for Decatur, right?
Oh,
Decatur, Springtown, I think that district comes down to them. And if I were having to put odds on it right now...
Oh, Decatur,
right. But not, I don't think by a long shot, though, or by a lot, right?
No.
Decatur's got some holes to fill.
No, I totally agree with you there.
But that's what makes Region 2 so tough. I mean, it's not just Salina, Panther Creek, Sulphur Springs, Alvarado. Just those teams alone were just so good last year.
Yep.
And they're returning a lot coming back. So, yeah, loaded region.
Well, and that's why we have it as the toughest region. But that's why, as we said, when you look at Class 4A Division I, it's stacked across the board. And you, I know I said this at the beginning of the show, but you and I also said it off the air. I feel like for what we cover, 2A through 4A, this is going to be one of the most spread out years of every region has a team eventually that could end up being a true state championship threat and not just be semifinal fodder for the next region.
Yeah.
All right, and that is going to do it for Toughest Regions here on Sideline to Sideline. I want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, you can email us at Grant and Terry at s2ssport.com. Please think about supporting our Patreon. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/L4 Media Company. For less than a cup of coffee for a whole month, you're going to be getting a lot of extra shows this year. We started the Patreon last year. We had some issues getting the content out, but we're going to do a better job doing that, including things like a Patreon question of the week for the shows. We also have a Discord chat that has a lot of fun during the season that you have to be part of Patreon to be a part of. So please think about supporting the show that way. Patreon.com/L4media.com. Again, if you found us via YouTube, you can also find the audio-only version at s2sgrantandterry.com. And if you've only been listening to the audio version, you can find us at YouTube at youtube.com/@ L4 Media. Follow us on Twitter at Grant and Terry, and on Facebook, just type in Sideline to Sideline, where we're going to be putting out a bunch of different shorts and reels this year. So be checking it out. A lot of excitement. We've got the Toughest District show we're going to be recording, and then it's the big Ours preview shows. And before you know it, we're going to be talking about actual games right here on Sideline to Sideline, brought to you by New Guard Plus.